Welcome to the Mission Ready podcast, where we talk with leaders, veterans, and veteran service organizations about life after the uniform. What works, what doesn't work, what's going well, maybe what's not going well, but how we're helping those veterans during that transition process. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Suzanne. Suzanne is from Military Brands. Hi, Suzanne. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic and looking forward to our conversation and you telling me a little bit about Military Brands and what you do with them.
It's interesting. Military Brands is an umbrella for three different brands. And as of March 2025, my business partner and I completed a management buyout and are now co-owners of the company. And my whole mission goal is, how do I help military members learn what took me 22 years of military life in maybe their fourth year or their eighth year? I always feel like we're an expert at the end, but then how do we share that information with the generation before us so they don't have to learn things the hard way?
What are some of those things that you're doing to help get that message out to these types of people? Because I agree, you have this wealth of knowledge, right? Years of experience behind your belt. And it's now we're getting these, it's so hard to navigate that those first, especially those first couple months, first couple years, right out of active duty. And what are you doing to help these people?
So we have my base guide, which is the official DoD guide for the domestic bases, and that's primarily for your active duty. Veteran life is for veterans, and then we just launched mil spouses because everyone has a place in this transition out of active duty and into the veteran life. And there's still things that I learn. There's still things that I didn't know about, and it just floors me because unless you're learning it by word of mouth, you really don't figure it out. The VA is not going to offer it up. So what we're doing primarily is based on our own lived experiences, and we'll say accidental tripping and falling over and getting back up and dusting ourselves off. We're just like, okay, let's write an article about that. And then social media, how do we let our audience find us? So trying to consolidate all that information to one central location so that people understand what's available to them.
You just mentioned that. So a little bit about how you get your message out. So you're all over social medias. You have a website. You have articles that are written out, and these are all fantastic resources for people to use. And at the end of our interview, in the description, we'll have all that stuff in there for anyone who's listening and watching today. All of those links will be in there for you to go to. What are some kind of like major initiatives or big things you have coming up?
We are relaunching our veteran podcast, and that's Return to Base. We also have Mil Spouse in the House podcast. Military spouses don't get enough credit for all that they do, and there are a lot of military spouses who are also veterans. Dual military, it tends to work that way. So in the next coming year too, we want to work with as many nonprofits as we can. Again, there are so many benefits that service members, veterans, families don't know about. And there's so many people who want to help, but especially nonprofits don't always have the marketing budget. So, okay, again, how can we work with people like Five and Thrive and MOA and Hire Our Heroes to get the initiatives and the messaging out? Because even a Google search will only bring about so much. You have to pay to rank on Google, and unless you're going to the 100th page, you might not find out about this. When we all met at the MIT conference, there were so many nonprofits that I had never heard of, and it was
And they're
even
doing great things. Some of which we've interviewed on our show. I mean, they're doing amazing things for our veterans, right? I mean, there's 40 some thousand organizations out there. But yeah, and that's what's interesting is, so you're open to helping any one of these nonprofits or anybody who wants to amplify their message and help you. You're willing to help them.
yes,
That's
anybody
awesome.
who has a mission of wanting to help our community. 1,000%. I met with two yesterday that are nonprofits, huge nonprofits, that they have so many things that people don't know about, like MOA, the Military Officer Association of America. Well, they have a great program for military spouses. So again, there's just more that we all need to bring it together so that we can make sure that everyone knows about the benefits that are available to them.
I think that's part of this whole mission about this entire podcast series that we've created, is just to educate people, right? Not only veterans, but their families, their spouses, and to educate them on the things that are available to them. People like you who are willing to then take even, the small VSOs or any kind of other military-based organization and help them amplify then their message, because that's all we're trying to do. All we're trying to do is collaborate and help each other out and work with each other, because at the end of the day, who wins? The veteran.
Yeah, there's no competition in this space because we just all get to win together.
Which I love, and even from our initial conversations, Suzanne, that we've had, I felt that from you, right? That all we're trying to do is just amplify a good mission to help people, to help veterans, to help their families, their spouses in any possible way that we can. Let me ask you a question. Military life often provides a clear mission and structure in what you do. How do you counsel or support veterans in finding a new mission and purpose as they transition into their civilian life?
That's a great question. So I spent 10 years in the Air Force, and my husband just retired with 20 years in the Army. I had a terrible transition. It was about a 3-year depression. It was really hard on our marriage, and I'll tell you why I believe that was. Nobody told me it was going to be hard. Nobody told me that there is some sense of loss. So I didn't know what was bothering me. I didn't know why I felt this way. So the first thing I would love I tell anybody who's getting out is like, hey, listen, it's going to feel weird and it's okay. It's normal. Like you're not the only one, and there's nothing wrong with the way you're feeling. And then something that has, I think, shocked, surprised, and just been elated for me is the veteran community. You might be leaving the military, but there's another community waiting for you. And if you will let them, I tell people, reach out to me and ask me for help. I have no problem with it. And my husband is one of those that I always have to kind of flick in the ear, because he's like, well, I don't want to ask anyone for help. And I'm like, you're not asking for help. You're just like I'm offering. People are offering. Nobody is going to think that you're this weirdo asking for something out of nowhere, because we all serve together. We all are happy to help veterans.
But that's the culture, though. The culture is going to say, I can't ask for help. I have to hold on to this.
It is. But the same as like you would call up somebody, your counterpart in another office, and you might call logistics for something, and you might call CE for something. If you guys we're going to call each other. So there's nothing wrong with calling somebody or sending a message or just connecting on LinkedIn. That community is huge. Go into your local community, and there's tons of organizations there, and it's not necessarily asking for help, and it's not that you need help, but there's a place that you still belong, and we're all here for it. We're all here to been there. Like you come out of some military trainings and we've been there. We're like, oh, I've been there. Same thing. Oh, you transitioned? Yeah, me too. Been there. Yeah. What part are you at right now? How you feeling? Have those conversations.
That's a mindset shift, right? And that's hard. That's very hard to go from, being in a chow hall and wearing a uniform and doing the day-to-day stuff that you're doing to being not, what's my purpose? I'm lost, right? What do I do? How do we help veterans navigate that?
I personally love an analogy, and I love storytelling, because I think it's the easiest way that we can all relate to each other. So first and foremost, those extrovert veterans like myself, start talking. Go find the introverts that we all yank out of hiding in the shadows and, make them do something. Yeah, I use my husband as an example because he is the epitome of an introvert who doesn't want to talk to anybody. But, it's going to take a mindset shift, and then just embrace the weirdness of it all. You're not necessarily starting over, because I hate that. It feels weird, right? You were a part of something great. You were at a certain level in a career and a trajectory.
But it feels that way, though.
But you have to sometimes change the verbiage from, okay, so are you kind of starting over, or are you recreating? But you're starting over not from scratch. You're starting over from a level of experience that nobody else has. And so these are things that are really important to this day. I mean, I'm in a military town. It's the easiest place to kind of retire. But and my family came to visit from Texas the other day, and they were like, I've never seen so many disabled veteran license plates ever. And I was like, well, yeah, that's everyone around here. What are you talking about?
That's funny.
But we're all going to find each other. And like, somebody came to give us a roof quote, and he was retired Army. And I mean, him and my husband had a long 30-minute bro moment uh, because there's a connection there. And so my point to all that is, um, look for those connections, but take your time. Take your time to decompress. Think about every time you deployed, every time you moved. I always say it's a rule of threes. I feel like whenever we moved someplace new, it was about 3 months until it started to feel like we even knew the light switches in our new house. And then, deployment wise, how long did it take to reintegrate and be like, okay, I'm back home? And so you got to kind of give yourself, especially if you've had a long time in the military, the rule tends to be 3 careers, 3 years. And so because we refuse to quit anything, it's ingrained in us to never quit. Just be willing to not so much quit, but if you're in a job that you're like, this is not for me, feel free to move on. And right now, you can job hop a little bit. We're all giving you permission. Nobody in the veteran community is going to judge you. Job hop, decide what you want to do. It took me about 3 tries to figure out what career I wanted to be in, what space I wanted to be in. So it's just trying these new things, and if you can kind of look at it from an adventure perspective, it's a good way. It's a good way to do it. That's really easy for somebody like me who's creative. For somebody like my husband who is a pilot and everything needs to be a 90-degree angle, I know that's really, really tough. So, do some more research. Use organizations like acp.org, American Corporate Partners. You get a free mentor for 1 year. My mentor was the VP of sales at Disney. These are true people who want to help the veteran community, and they are there to guide you. So again, use those resources because they're free. Why not?
The idea is like, there's resources, use them. It's hard. It's hard to do that, right? It's hard for a veteran to say, I need help. It's hard for a veteran to say, I'm good. I can do this. That's easy for them to say that, right? It's hard for them to say, I need help. So the idea is, so let's think about this though. Do we think there are gaps between the military, the government, nonprofits, in the support of our service members during their transition? Is there gaps that we need to be filled, that need to maybe put more resources in or more help into?
So I don't really have a great filter. It's terrible. It is awful. Um, and it's different for everybody. My transition, I'm standing there at my first career field fair. I'm in uniform next to my male counterparts, and I'm talking to people who are recruiting, and I was like, hey, yeah, I'm looking for my next career. I didn't join the military till I was 28. I had a career before then. I have always worked and made my own money. I love working, and I don't apologize for that. But to listen to these recruiters who are like, oh, you have young children. Yeah. And okay, your husband is still in the military. Why don't you just stay home and raise your kids? Like, you don't need to work. And I was like, it's not really for you to decide,
Yeah,
but
right, right.
wait. But then talking to my male counterparts, it was, oh, you have young children at home? We can have you traveling every other week so you don't have to be home to listen to them cry. And so I kind of gave up in that moment. And that was like my first gut punch. And, then it was trying to find a job where people are like, well, you're going to move in like 2 years probably. So you can answer phones for $10 an hour. There's nothing wrong with that. But I was like, well, I'd really like to be able to come in and do a lot more for your organization. But people were just completely against that. And so I say all this to say the civilian population, in some regard, has this vision in the military that we're like all running around with guns yelling at each other all day instead of us having true skill sets. And that's where I say, you really have to work with people who know and let people help you with a resume and how you speak, because my husband was like, oh yeah, I did this and this and started using like ammunitions and the largest. I was like, no, 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 you just freaked everybody out.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about like what you organized and the size of the organization and the budget you had. And but that takes time to take that mindset. So again, talk to the people who went ahead of you. Same as like when you were first, getting ready to re-enlist, or you were getting ready to make the next rank, and your supervisor sat down with you and was like, all right, what track do you want to go? Like, are we looking to go here? Are we looking to go here? What's your career trajectory? You've had that talk in the military. So reach out to those veterans who are ahead of you, because I mean, I remember somebody saying something about SaaS companies, and I'm like googling, what are they talking about? I've been in the military so long, I didn't know what a CRO did versus a CFO. I didn't know what that was. What do you mean? Like, why would revenue and finances be separate? But until you dive into that, take the time to learn. You did it before, you can do it again.
And it sounds like what you're doing with Military Brands is essentially that you're helping. You are helping with this transition process and endorsing. Really, is that a fair word to say? All these other companies, right? You're helping them kind of build their mission and get their voice out to help veterans in the space that they own.
The problem is there's a lot of companies, and some of them are owned by veterans, some are owned by military spouses who have found a way to monetize the situations that the military community finds themselves in. And so I we're picky. And I work very hard for us to be able to stay picky because we have to pay the bills too. But it's a matter of not working with companies who don't have the military truly at the interest of what they're doing, and letting the military know who they can trust.
I mean, that's a big deal. Trust is a big deal.
It is huge. Like, these are companies, these are organizations that you can trust, and here's who to stay away from. Because military members, veterans, military spouses are amongst the most scammed demographic. People seek them out for scams.
And there's a lot of people trying to scam.
Yes, so we have to just try to, like, how can we make sure that doesn't happen?
I think what you're doing with Military Brands is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you could send a message to your younger self, right? So you maybe just coming out of the military, whatever it may be, what would that be? What would the one statement or encouragement thing would you say to yourself?
To my past stubborn, I refuse to ask for help self, admit admit to myself that I was struggling, because I refused to admit that anything was wrong. I could handle this. I can handle this on my own. I don't need help from anybody. I've, gotten this far in my life all by myself. I'm fine. It's like 38. It's amazing what happens when you turn 40, that you're just like, oh, okay, I don't know everything. But it's hard because nobody likes feeling that way, and sometimes it's easier to put up walls, and anger is an easier emotion to handle than maybe sadness or admitting that you're maybe just depressed or down. So I would say to my younger self, like, get over yourself and take a step back. And, I did end up going and speaking to a therapist who really pulled the pulled the veil back, and I could like see what was really happening. And so I'm thankful for that, because and that's the thing too. Don't be afraid to go to more than one therapist. If you go see the first one, like I had a therapist who just had kid gloves on, and that's really not the way to talk to me. And so when I finally found the therapist who was just very blunt, direct, with no filter, we got along just fine. And that's okay too. You kind of have to shop around to find the right person to help you with that. So um, it's not easy. It's so much easier said than done. And hindsight is always 2020.
What's the one thing you want our viewers to take away from our conversation we had today?
That there's a community that really wants to help you and work with you, and don't miss out on the benefits. Like, if one thing that I wish I had known, and that I want so many people to know right now, is when you get out of the military, you have 5 years of VA coverage immediately, and you don't have to have a disability rating. So don't go pay your company for their medical insurance and money out of your pocket, because you don't need to. And that would save so many veterans money. And then, ask for help and apply for your VA disability. I didn't. I didn't think I was eligible. Somebody finally called me one day, and it was a veteran organization. And they're like, why haven't you applied for disability? And I was like, I didn't know I could. And I'd never used the word veteran for myself. So, those people who haven't completed 20 years, you're still a veteran. Um, and you did great things, and you were a part of a great organization, and now you can still be part of a great community.
It's incredible, and thank you for your time, your wisdom, your passion, and your heartfelt words towards our veterans, and just helping them with that transition into civilian life. I really hope that our viewers feel empowered from what you're saying to us today, and that they know that there is help out there, and that there are many caring, loving people out there that are willing to help them with this process. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and we hope you stay mission ready.